right, I think we're going. All right,
Yeah,
guys.
we
Well,
are.
hey, perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. This is our first episode, so please bear with us a little bit. My name is Zach. This is Leah, and we wanted to start this because we both love business. We're both real estate professionals, and just wanted a chance to talk about what's going on in the industry from a younger person's point of view. What's going on in the general Western world and business in general from a younger point of view, and we ended up finding that we know a lot of people that are doing some really amazing things and wanted to put up a platform where we could get a chance to talk about them. So to start with, this is Leah. She is a phenomenal agent over in Toronto, Canada. And I've had the pleasure of talking with her and doing these videos for the last couple of months.
Yeah, it's been great. We started One Direction and then we kind of, continued to grow and grow on it. So I'm so happy to, get these opportunities to grow and connect together and then connect with other people in different industries. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's almost like it's Harry Styles. This is going One Direction. Joking aside, joking aside, it's been a lot of fun, and it's really fun to have other people to talk to and kind of network with everything. One of the things we've been talking about a lot is time blocking. So like that's something we were talking about just last week, right?
Yeah, or this morning, or like
Or this
every
morning, yeah,
single day.
that too.
It is
kind
a
of,
very crucial part. Yes.
yeah, it makes all the difference. So I'm super excited. I did it. I was supposed to do it like last week or 2 weeks ago, but I did it 2 days ago, which is kind of the same thing. Which is I went back through my calendar again and got it set up for success. So downside is I now have to wake up at 6:30, which I am not a fan of in the
It's okay.
slightest.
Accountability is going to be what's going to set you apart. And we already talked about this.
Yes,
Accountability.
yes, because my wake up time is your lead gen time. Thank you, time zones.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you, time zones. So I
Um,
know you had a time blocking kind of like, do you want to kind of open up a little bit about like why you started time blocking, how you kind of do it, and what you found has worked for you because you just did a little bit of a pivot. It sounds like you had one, but now you're not, right? Like we talked about this.
yeah, yeah. So there's kind of it's been a journey, and I think just on a tangent, that's one of the things that I really love about being a real estate agent, about being self-employed, about being in the entrepreneur business realm is you only stick like you wake up every day unemployed, and I call people until I get a check, um, which some people are terrified of. To me, I find it exhilarating. Um, but you're always looking about how can I improve myself in order to improve my performance, in order to improve my value add, in order to not be broke. That's the general concept of how things are flowing. So most of my major business achievements that I've been able to get in the last year, they stem back about 3 months to a personal change I made. And I've been keeping a journal every quarter. I just do a check in of what my goals were, do it quarterly and monthly, what my goals were, how I did with that. I get a grade, and then going through about what I would want to change. The idea of life by design doesn't mean a life that's easy. It means I'm taking full control and responsibility for what I do.
Exactly. So
Um,
I'm gonna hold on one second. I want to ask you a question here because we are at a little bit of a different timeline. Like I started in December and you started a little bit while back. So my journey with time blocking right now has been like a little bit of a roller coaster as I, so graciously have your advice there. But like when did you actually really start implementing this? Like do you want to talk about that for a sec?
yeah, yeah. So we both kind of cheated a little bit, right? You got your license in December. I got my license last July. So we're both within our first year. With that said, we both cheated. We were ISAs beforehand. So I was
Yeah.
paid to be in the industry, making phone calls. I did open houses, over 50 open houses as an ISA. So I was completely immersed in the world of real estate before I
Yeah.
had my license. So we kind of cheated on that one.
Yeah.
For me, I got really into it. The team I was on at the time was fantastic. I wish them all the best. And we were talking about the book Miracle Morning, and we were talking about time blocking and everything else. And last December, actually, I got really into the idea that a New Year's resolution can have a lot of value. just like
Mhm.
a May 1st resolution can have a lot of value, or a June 1st resolution can have a lot of value if you do the steps correctly. If you do the
Yeah.
reflection beforehand, you set up goals that, when I say achievable, I don't mean like they're easy, but I mean realistically, with some effort, you could do it. And then you mark out a plan of exactly what steps to do. The idea is you have to get very specific and very gradable. It can't be subjective. Oh, I felt like I worked out. My workout goals have very specific numbers to them, very specific
Yes.
time numbers, very specific rep numbers, very specific weight numbers.
If you talk to, a lot of people who've had enormous success, they'll say the same thing. You want to quantify everything, because if you just do like this range, your brain automatically just, starts to, mess with those expectations, and then you talk yourself out of it. So that's one thing for sure that I've noticed. Like, I already am so methodical that way, but transferring from like doing things on paper so like religiously to trying to get a time block on, like, we use Google Calendar, right? That has
Yeah.
been my biggest struggle. I am a day-to-day agenda writer, but like, because I'm trying to do everything electronically, yeah, you want to, throw out the term boomer right now. Like, I feel like that. I have this disconnect with technology, and I don't know. Do you have any suggestions for that?
Keep trying. It took me. I was looking at this, right. I just did. This is why I had numbers, right. I just did my
Yeah,
May reflection, my April reflection, my May goals.
yeah.
Um, so I flipped back. First quarter of 2020, right before the whole world exploded.
Hmm.
My biggest goal was to follow my Google Calendar. That took me half a year until that goal was checked off to the point it was no longer written down.
Mhm. Mhm.
To
And it became a
actually,
habit. Yeah, and everything's already kind of formulated. You're in the routine.
and there's a couple parts, like, I mean, it sounds bad, just do it, like Nike, just do it. um that's kind of what it is. The one thing I would say is it reminds me of a Jordan Peterson video I watched, which is, you have to, this is kind of a combination of a Jordan Peterson video and something else that I was watching. But discipline is the definition of self-love, right? The idea that, yeah, you could do this, but that's not going to work out well for you. You could go eat two pizzas, but you're going to break out in acne and feel like you're 16 again, right? Don't do
Yeah.
that. I love you too much to let you do that. The same idea is, you have to have discipline with your wake up time, with following the calendars, with all of that. The other side of this is, you also have to negotiate with yourself like somebody you care about, like somebody you're trying to be in a long-term relationship with, be it an employee relationship or anything else. And what does that mean? Well, that means when you go to set up what your day is, the idea is, let's set up the best day ever, right? Your calendar is not supposed to be a jail cell. Set it up with
Mm.
things you like in it. A couple of requirements. One is, you have to end the day better than you left it. And that is in all the categories. That's in business, that's in finance, that's in relationship with yourself, your major relationships in your life.
Yeah.
That's with your spiritual relationship. That's that whole piece. It has to check each of those boxes. And the next piece is, it has to be rewarding, right? If you went to work and somebody said, "Hey, I want you here at 6:30. I want you to do all of this busy work. I want you to do all these things you don't want to do at all, and then I want you to do it again tomorrow, and in a week it gets harder," you'd say, "Fuck off, dude! Like, they're paying
Yeah.
me $2,000 a month not to work right now. Why would I?"
No. Just the human, processing wouldn't allow for that. Your brain would be like, no, it's
Oh,
not going to work. I love that you brought up this idea of like you're having a relationship with yourself. That's a very, at least for me, impactful kind of sentiment that's related to it, and how you want to take care of yourself in your journey. Everyone's always, or at least like me, when I started, you really think outwardly constantly, right? You're giving yourself and your time out to all these different, requirements of everyday job or relationships and this and that. But it does take a lot of time to inwardly, make sure you're taking care of yourself and setting yourself up for that relationship, right? I completely think that's such a great connection there with, time blocking, and then making sure it's, you're taking care of yourself, and that's what it's all about. You can't just run wild for everybody and please everybody. Like, where are you going to get? It's only going to take you so far, and you're going to run yourself crazy.
Yeah, yeah, and that kind of comes to the two biggest things that I'm incorporating into my calendar, because I went the opposite, right? You're a very agreeable person. I'm a very disagreeable person. That doesn't mean I'm mean. It just
No.
means I'm very competitive.
Yeah.
And if I care about somebody, they want to do something, I'll see if I can fit it in. But if I don't, I don't feel remotely bad about telling you to go away, like
Oh, I
at
am
all. I don't care.
so guilty, so guilty. Like, I just want to take care of everybody the best I can. I will try to fit you in here, fit you in here. If it means I don't get an evening, absolutely, I'm sacrificing, like, every
Yeah,
single time. But it is going to have to be a really big balance for me, making sure that I'm taking care of, like, myself too, and not sacrificing too much. When there's a
yeah.
book, I know we were talking about what books we could start reading and stuff like that, and one of the titles was like how to, like, say no, but, like, when it's best for you kind of thing. And I was like, okay, maybe we'll read that one next.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that.
Okay, so talk a little bit more about how, from a business perspective, I know we're still on the topic of timeline, and I know we've got some other stuff to talk about today. But in terms of how you view the business being from more of a, as you stated it, like a disagreeable, I wouldn't, I'm sure there's another word for it, but how do you, like, envision your, business strategy with that kind of mentality and your time
Def,
blocking?
Definitely, I love that question. So, quick little side tangent: agreeable and disagreeable. Again, I'm a huge fan of Jordan Peterson. Go check out, if you haven't yet, the Big Five personality types. So
Yeah.
there's five major traits. Each one goes down to two sub traits, and we all have some of everything. But then the question is where you kind of lean towards, and they're bell curve splits, right? So most people are right here, and the extremes are in the outliers. Really,
Mm-hmm.
really interesting stuff. Being disagreeable isn't a bad thing. Being agreeable is not a bad thing. What they are is just personality traits, and they have major benefits and major withdrawals. And it's about how you incorporate them into your life. So just side tangent. I love psychology. I highly recommend you guys check it out.
Yeah.
Um, on your question of how does that affect the business, let me get to that by finishing the other piece, which is we have the two different personality traits. The solution, I think, for both of us is the same thing.
Mm.
Um, I had the opposite problem, right? You would find yourself going everywhere, doing everything, trying to help everybody else, and then having problems keeping consistent on your lead gen time or ever having a break for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
was the opposite. I would just force myself into everything I didn't want to do. I just finished 100 something day run of every day, all day, I'm working, doing stuff I don't want to do. And you saw it destroyed my mood. It destroyed
Mm-hmm.
everything else. And I took a week
Yeah.
break for church, and it was just such a reset.
Yeah.
Um, so different, but the solution is going to be the same. And that is the concept of the king eats first. Um, and bear with me on this because I don't quite like the wording of it either. Um, but the idea being, in order for you to be able to be there for your family, in order for you to be there for your business, for your work life, for everything else, you have to be in a place physically, mentally, spiritually, where you're able to give. And so to do that, the answer, even for those of us like to sleep in, is to get up. Um, you got to get up and you have to get your spiritual reading in. You got to get your prayer time in on yourself, by yourself, before anyone else is there. You got to get your
Yeah.
workout in. You got to get everything set up so you're able to give. So where does this go next? For myself personally, when I just redid my calendar, I'm up at 6:30 and I wake up slow. So my first, so I jump into prayers, and then it's coffee, and I make a smoothie. Then I jump into a workout. Then I hang out with my dog for 30 minutes, play fetch with him, jump in the shower, and then I'm on the phone at 8 a.m. But I'm completely set up, wide awake, and ready to function.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
then making calls until about 11:30, and I start my calls. I have a script training at 8 from 8 to 8:30, so 8:30 to 11:30. That's just over 2 hours if I can math correctly. Maybe it's 3 hours. I don't know. It's an amount of time. I'm on the phone knocking it out.
Yeah.
And the cool, using triple line dialers, there's a bunch of strategies with stuff. But the mindset piece of this is, yeah, the call block gets a little tedious, but I knock it out and I can get so many calls made, so many conversations had. And
Yes.
now at 11:30, I've got 10 minutes to mark down what I'm up to. I have another workout. And then noon, I spend another hour training my dog. He's getting ready for search and rescue. We're working on a certificate for that. It's a whole lot of fun.
Nice.
Takes a lot of time. Um,
Yeah.
so knock that out. I then have an hour of follow-ups. So today for my call block, I've got a seller. I cold called the seller. He wants to rock and roll. So I'm getting him an offer sent over. And then I have an hour for opportunity time. This is educating myself about Bitcoin and Dogecoin to the moon. Don't buy that stuff, guys. It's not an investment. It's a gamble. Like, make money if you want to, but it's gambling. Um, but you're researching stuff that could turn an opportunity, be it flipping cars, be it audio that doesn't suck, whatever it is. I've got an hour for follow-ups.
Side hustle time. Yeah, that's side
Yeah,
hustle time.
yeah. I've got an hour for follow-ups, and then I am done working it too. So if I have an appointment, a showing for a buyer or a listing appointment, I like to
Mhm.
start those around 3. Most people like to start them on weekdays. Like
Yeah.
5:30 is a normal time. People have to work.
Yeah.
You're buying a $3 million house, you're at work. You're available
Yeah.
in evenings. So now I've got a 3-hour break every day where I'm mentally charged, I'm physically charged. I did my spiritual time. I did all of that. And now I have this break where I can choose to spend it with other people and work on the relationship side. So tying this back in, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I know I've been monologuing for a second. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Um, Coming from the opposite problem, right? I would push everybody away, including myself. This
Mhm.
strategy is giving me time to both myself and to other people.
Everyone.
How do you see that kind of an idea working for you, coming from the opposite problem of you're always trying to give yourself to absolutely everybody, no time for yourself or to get any work done? Uh, how do you see that strategy working for you?
I like the structure, and when I have my time blocking done in my calendar, which unfortunately I'm having, a struggle of following right now, it is very oriented to begin the day with the lead gen, just like you. Then I take a break from that and I do social media training, or like you said, like your side hustle. So I'm in, a couple courses, just learning how to market, yourself as a real estate agent via social media, just different like concepts that way. I do have a time block for that. And then after that, your follow up, an appointment time frame. And then at the evening, I just have kind of whatever else could potentially, come up. So what I see myself versus like your schedule is not kind of having that in between. Like for you to get all of that stuff done, that's phenomenal that you're able to get all of your stuff done and then still have a little bit of a break in between. Maybe that's what I could start implementing, is like just that in between break where you can, get your mental recharge in, get your, if you, want to spend some time with your family in between showings and stuff like that. I love that. I think, a key point that also kind of like stood out to me is, and I've heard it, many times, is the reason why people wake up at 4 a.m. is because there's nobody else up. There's no one there to distract you. There's nothing, right? And we get into a habit of, commingling with people as people wake up, and then you get sidetracked. Just get the blinders on. And that's probably a big takeaway for me too, is get up earlier, get the blinders on so you can get the stuff done that you actually want to. So I can, we should start an experiment and I can start, maybe we can switch calendars and I'll take on yours and see how I can kind of, keep to it and see if it kind of changes my mentality and also kind of my mental sameness and see how
Yeah,
it goes.
yeah.
But
I
just really quickly, in terms of being available for everybody, we talked about this a little bit earlier too, which I'm trying to do more of, is you don't necessarily have to get right to them and answer that phone call, just a quick message, right? Hey, I got your message. Don't worry, I'm going to get back to you as soon as I can, kind of thing. So at least they feel acknowledged. And a lot of the time, even in our friend relationships, we just like don't want to respond to something, so we don't answer, right? It would make so much more sense just to acknowledge. Everyone's looking for that acknowledgement and then get to it on your, time block time of whenever you said that you were going to do that. So,
Yeah, I love it. I love that you bring that up. That reminds me of something that my team has been saying, and I've gotten used to telling everybody about this. And just hearing you say that, I'm going to add it as one of those quick texts that we have.
yep.
Um, so I appreciate you bringing that up, which is I tell all my clients from 8 a.m. to noon, I'm finding buyers for my sellers and sellers for my buyers. If you
Yep.
reach out to me, I promise you I saw it. I will get back to you at 1 o'clock like clockwork, and handle whatever there was. And when you say that up front, nobody has an issue with it. I think I'm going to go ahead and add that as a quick text response. So instead of answering your phone call, it just goes back, and you can add it as a predictive text.
Nice, nice. I like that. I really like that. There was a gentleman who was an agent on a team that I used to work with, and that's what he did. His lead gen block was 9 to 12 or 8 to 11 or whatever it was, and he literally said, "Phone is off. I will not answer you between this time." And he told everyone, up front, "Thanks. Like, I
Mhm.
will get to you, but do not call me unless it's an absolute emergency." And that goes for friends, family, everyone. Like, don't call me at this time. So it works, and it's a two-way street. You need that communication, or else people are just gonna
Yeah.
be like, "Why the heck, are people not answering me?" And you want to seem
Yeah.
like you're reliable.
Oh, okay, completely, completely. And the other thing is, kind of two thoughts on this. One is you're training your clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they get used to you jump at all times, then they expect that. If
Yeah.
they get used, they reached out to you at 9:30, and you reach back out to them at 1 and say, "Hey, I saw it come through. I was doing my lead gen block as we talked about. Here's what we're going forward." They'll just get used to that. No, they're still going to hit you up at 11:30, and you're still going to respond because that's our business. But you can't push it off in the morning and make that a nighttime problem.
Yes. Yes. That's
And
great.
the other thing I wanted to jump back over to is just in thinking about how I was able to get glued to my calendar, um, and how that works. It comes back to the idea of negotiating with yourself. Don't jump into a super aggressive calendar if at the same time you're saying a lot of my time gets wasted socializing with people that I don't mean to. It just disappears on me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't jump into a super structured calendar because you're not going to stick to it. You might get a day or two. Give
Unrealistic
yourself
expectations.
something with 15-minute breaks every hour and lots of open space. And you're like, why? That's so much wasted time. Yeah. But see, you can change your calendar. That's a really cool thing about Google Calendar, right? You can change it and change next week. Always just keep changing next week and live this week as is written.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my biggest piece of advice is ease yourself into it.
Yes, no one just like completely like, and that's the thing that people fail. You read a lot of people say, okay, like starting Monday, that diet and this routine is gonna come, and I'm gonna, exercise for 3 hours a day and this and that. If you were doing that before, what makes you think you're just gonna your mental strength is gonna like it's an endurance thing. It definitely is, and you got to work yourself up to that. And I like that point a lot. Like you do really have to work at it. It's not gonna come easy. And why not just ease yourself in and little baby steps, like right? Like I don't know if you read The Slight Edge, but it
No.
talks about that. It's a fantastic book, and it just talks about adding small little habits to have like literally a ginormous incline like that. I mean, I'm sure there's many other authors that have, written books of similar like styles. But yeah, just little steps, and you'll realize you won't even recognize yourself in like 5 years, right? Because like
Yeah, that sounds like the Compound Effect by
yeah, the compound
Hardy.
effect. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
similar.
that's awesome, and that reminds me of how I got into working out. Like that was never something I did. I hated it. Like I've always been like not completely out of shape, but hated working out. And what I did is I got an accountability buddy, did it with me,
Nice.
and we agreed to do push-ups and sit-ups for 10 minutes. That was it. 5 days a week, 10 minutes, just push-ups,
Okay. All right.
and we stuck with it. And then we went from 10 minutes to 15 minutes. And now we're going from once a day to twice a day, 5 times a week. And we've incorporated some other exercises.
Nice.
It's very time efficient now, but it's being done.
That's it.
And doing a 10-minute workout is so much better than scheduling an hour long one.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Mhm.
The compound effect. Yeah. So yeah, it sounds like so Jeff Olson was the author of the Slight Edge. Sounds very similar to the compound effect, which I have not written. Sorry, not written,
You
not
right?
read. I do dabble in some writing, but not to that extent. No.
Okay.
Anyway, awesome. So did we talk about everything with time blocking? That like I didn't want to cut you off or anything like that. We do have a couple letters to read today as well that we've received from some ISAs. Again, if anyone's just joining us who is unfamiliar with the term, inside sales agent is what brokerages or like real estate teams hire to do cold calling, calling up and following up on their database and just lead generation pretty much. And these are things that agents sometimes don't like to do, so they hire other people to do it.
Let's jump into it.
Let's jump into it. Okay. Dear Leah and Zach, I heard about your channel from a friend. Oh, okay. This is a little bit of an introduction. Okay. I heard about your channel from a friend, and I really appreciate what you're doing. Thank you. Your content is very helpful to an ISA like me. My biggest roadblock taking calls is asking to uncover my client's reason for selling. This is especially when I talk to a FSBO, which is a for sale by owner. When I get a response like, I'm not interested or I'm not going to hire a real estate agent, what advice can you give me so I can develop my skills in asking more questions rather than taking the majority of or talking the majority of the conversation, right?
Yeah. So we've addressed some of these concepts. I guess what I would say is the first thing I keep in mind with a FISBO or an expired, right? They typically don't want to talk to you and they don't care much about your team. You have to justify every second of their time that you're taking. So how do you do this? There's a couple good lines that we'll talk about in a second that help buy you in the next 5 seconds, the next 5 seconds, the next 5 seconds. The next point is you want to be adding value with each one of these, and that's how we're buying those extra seconds. And I guess my third and fourth point, the third one is third point is I was like, wow, that's a lot of fingers. Um,
Like,
yeah, my third point would be they're not necessarily going to sign with you today, right? Now, we would never say this to them, but there's the idea that they're going to sign something. They're going to sign a listing agreement with me, they're going to sign it with somebody else, or they're going to sign a restraining order against me. Until then, I'm going to keep calling.
the compound
Um,
effect, right?
exactly. So you may not actually get that listing. With that said, just keeping those in mind and that mindset, how do we actually go and buy those next couple of seconds? That gets into the introduction. Leah, would you like to share yours?
Introduction for these kinds of calls is very similar to you, like, hi, I usually try to, on my, like with my tone, I do try to act like I've already spoken to these people, like try to already get that recognition in the voice. So, like, hi, it's, if their name, whatever, Zach, you know, hi, Zach, it's Leah Thompson from Keller Williams Complete. Like, just making sure it's like, oh, okay, let me see if I can remember what it is. And then jump into it, right? The reason for my call, I noticed you've got your home for sale at 123 Main Street. Let's talk about your goals to see if they match up with what I have, going on with my buyers. Or, I'd be so interested to go walk through it. I have some buyers, who are interested, and I'd love to get an idea to see if we can match this up for you. Just offering, like you said, some sort of value so that they're
Yeah.
hooked. They don't care about your team. They don't care about any of that stuff, and they don't care about how they are. Like you asking how they are.
Yeah.
Just cut it out. Just cut it out.
We're saying, I mean, almost word for word the same thing, but I want to go ahead and dissect a little bit about why what you're saying is powerful, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I say almost the same thing. I say, hey, this is Zach with the United Home Group and the Keller Williams Realty Company. Real quick, reason for the call today is I wanted to check in and go over what your goals are with the sale of this home, right? Almost word for word. Couple of big points. One is I'm announcing who I am. That's a very big point in making yourself look like a professional. They're like, oh, well, they'll hang up on me when they find I'm a real estate agent. Cool, then you're wasting your time if you keep
Mm-hmm.
talking to them, right? Go call
Mm-hmm.
them back next week, send them a text. Like,
Yeah.
It doesn't help you to speak for 15 minutes with somebody that thinks you're not who you are.
Yeah.
So one is to introduce yourself. Two is okay, guys, two is actually I'm not asking how you are. Now, of course, the client, of course I care, right? If we're going out with buyers, you got a glass of wine and a blunt, like, oh yeah, I love bay windows and yards. This is fantastic. But with the seller, you are buying every second. So I'm not gonna ask you how you are because you're gonna say, I'm busy, go away. Right? Just like you said. So the next piece that you roll into is you introduce yourself and you go, reason for the call today. I like saying real quick, reason for the call today. And there's some power in that tonality, which we'll talk about in a second. But the big point here is I'm respectful of our time. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
professional and my time is valuable. You're a seller and your time is valuable. So let's get right to the chase here. Right? That's going to buy you an extra couple of seconds.
I love
The
that. I love that. You hear some people just sorry. You hear so many people as well say like, "Oh, sorry to bug you. I just wanted to." Don't even set it up that it's an inconvenience.
No,
Don't
that
sorry.
destroys it.
Don't say sorry. Right? Like maybe that's just a highlight for whoever is
The
wanting some
Canadians.
insight. Don't ever. But you get like ISAs. You're sorry. I don't want to waste your time. Or oh, I'm sorry for blah blah blah. I don't know if you've ever like fallen into that trap of wanting to apologize when you're talking to them. I don't know. Okay, that's a no based on what you. But
No,
sometimes
no,
it
I'm
takes
not. I'm
a
not
process.
Canadian going out for a rip. But exactly, though, I completely agree with what you're saying. That's sabotaging to everything you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, completely. You're going past that. You're not apologizing for taking anybody's time, because you're supposed to be here. Because at the end of the day, or at the beginning of the day, it's better said. At the beginning of the day, I wake up and I know for a fact there are people out here in my community who will be vastly better off in their personal life, their spiritual life, their financial life, and their business if they get the opportunity to hear what I have to say. And so I'm now morally obligated to reach out to them and to continually introduce myself, introduce my team, introduce what we can do because I firmly believe that working with us is the best decision they can make.
Yes, mindset.
And
Set yourself up for that.
when you're coming from that, why would I apologize for helping you? I'm not going to be arrogant. I have many things to learn. That's why I'm on a team, right? We put the best professional in each space. But I am confident that that when you do decide to list with me, you will be better off at every single level. You'll be more protected legally. You'll make more money. You will be calmer, and the whole situation will make sense at the very least. Let alone any fires that end up getting put out, which happens all the time.
All the time. Yeah, yeah. So
Um,
organization, just making sure people understand the next steps, everything like that comes down to hiring a professional, to take care of you. Like it's one stop shop. You got to be covering so many aspects, right, of the job. It's not just put it on MLS. There's so many other aspects to it. So just going back to that point, absolutely. When you're having these conversations and trying to get them to be talking more, what are kind of your strategies in asking questions but not coming off too like
yeah.
forward with questions? Because
So
I've gotten like, oh, that's a little personal, I'd rather not say. I've had that happen to me.
yeah. So I mean that stems right off the introduction. I don't like scripts. I like being a scripted person. What that means is I found particular terms, and I've stolen them all from other people. But I've found particular phrases that are really, really good at articulating an emotional or an intellectual state, and I remember those. But it's a real conversation. So when I go into these, I have a intro that's scripted word for word, and the tonality has been tested and split tested to be correct.
Yeah.
I have mini closings that I practice every single day that turn it into the appointment. But the middle part is an honest conversation,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
the end of that introduction rolls us straight into those next questions, which is when we both use the same term because we script practice together, which is, I'd love to take a couple of moments and go over what your goals are with the sale of this home. And so what do you hear back on that one? You hear, I want to sell it. Okay. I want buyers. I want a buyer without an agent. They're going to say something like, there's only so many things they can say, right? It's they already have their hand up going, I want to sell my house.
Yes, they're motivated
Perfect.
clearly. Yes. So pick up
Perfect.
on it.
So
Yes.
tell me more about that. How much money are you looking for? What are you looking for in terms of, sometimes they'll ask, what do you mean by that? So, well, I'd love to know, what are you looking to sell the home for? Do you have any special conditions about the property? How long do you want to wait until the money comes in? And these are, I mean, they're very honest, they're sincere, but these are motivation questions, right? How much money do you want? Tell me more. What's your timeline? Tell me more. What? Tell me more. Tell me more.
When
And the second they
where are
say,
you gonna go? Yeah, exactly.
yeah. And then when they throw a question back to you, there's one line you use, which is, that's exactly why we should meet. I'm available this afternoon after 3, because I got my break in the middle, right? So after 3, would 5 or 6 work for you tonight? They go, oh no, I'm not available tonight. Got the same times open tomorrow.
There you go.
Right?
Rope them in.
So how, I guess you have a lot more scripts that you use and memorize. How do you think about that when you get the different odd questions or the different not wanting to talks?
I use stalls like you just kind of talked about, right? We've got the tell me more about that, or if they're putting up some sort of barrier there, just ask them for more information about it, because it'll start spilling out, right? So I've used that approach where you mentioned that you would prefer to work with a buyer that's not connected with an agent. Can you please tell me more about that? And just get them to talk. And I think that's something that was highlighted in the letter, is how do I get these people to be the ones talking and not me being the ones talking? So open them up, those, open questions. Don't do the yes and no questions. So I tend to try to stay that way. I also try to appeal to people, again, because we're in Canada here. I try to appeal to people's potential sensitivities as well. So how has your family been during COVID? How have you guys been doing? And I mean, we won't be always able potentially to use that as an in, but some people's barriers need to just be kind of dissipated a bit before they feel comfortable answering any questions. So reading how they're talking, if you notice that they're being a little stern, oh, well, thanks so much. How's your family been, during COVID? Or how's everyone staying safe? Or I hope everyone's all well. And just show that personal side of things instead of just being all business all the time. I mean, this is a business and we're hired to do a job, absolutely. But this is also a people business. And I'm sure in another episode, we'll talk about mirroring and things like that. But this is a people business. So I tend to do that. Do you guys probably do that as well? I know you guys are a little bit more real quick. You're not.
Yeah. Well, we do with clients completely. What you're talking about, some people might call manners. You got to go look down south or up north, apparently, to find those. Here in California, we're arrogant, rude, fast, and rich. So it works a little different. It works a little different.
That arrogant kind of came out of your pores a little bit after that.
A little bit. However, we do know how to use roundabouts, which the rest of the country can't figure out. So that's 1 point, California.
I can attest to that. We've got a few, and I don't like them. Anyways.
So on a cold call, we wouldn't so much go into the how's your family. We might go into who does this affect the most.
Yeah.
Now you tell me about your family. Now we'll talk about that. You certainly be kind and respectful and everything else, even in California. Those are all big things. But on a cold call in California, in the beginning of the conversation, if you try to make small talk, you're going to be hung up on or cussed out. That's another big difference. Is I probably get cussed out once a day. I like once a day. I don't think you've ever been cussed out in Canada. Canadians just don't know how to do that. It's too cold to be rude.
Too cold to be rude. Some people are just trying to conserve their warmth over here.
Yeah, you might need to snuggle in a minute before they freeze to death. You gotta be friends.
I have most definitely heard people get cussed out here, told to F
Okay.
off, all the rest. Like, why the F are you calling me? Have I ever had that harshness to me? You know what? I am blessed to say that has not crossed my lead gen. I think sometimes you can use your strength to your advantage at this, specific time. I'm talking about the fact that I'm a woman, and hearing a nice, soft toned woman on the phone, I don't think people's first approach are to ever say F off to this, soft tone on the phone. So if you're an ISA, or if you're, just a person doing lead generation in general, use your strengths accordingly. I talk about tonality a lot. I talk about the fact that, if you heard me on the phone say, hey, this is Leah from Keller Williams, can, I come to a home evaluation, people are going to be like, who the flip is this girl?
Oh.
Like, hi, it's Leah from Keller Williams. I just wanted to, reach out and see if I could do a home evaluation for you. Like, people will, I've never heard someone say, F off because of that. So again, maybe that's just like a woman's perspective, or, how you can use that strength. You have great energy on the phone though. So it's like so surprising to hear you're still.
I make a lot of calls.
Yeah,
I do probably 150, 200 phone calls a day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big part of that. And as to what you're saying, tonality is 90% of it, right? Male or female, that definitely is a factor, 100%. But just in listening to how you said that, right? The first one, like I didn't even want to finish listening to you say it, right? Like you sounded depressed. You were on the phone. Like, why do I want that depression near me? On the other one, it was like, oh my God, hi, let's do it. Wow.
Yeah.
So it was like the tonality makes a huge difference, and the energy. I stand up. I'm standing right now, but like I stand up for all my lead gen. You feel more confident. You feel more awake. If you put your phone up on a tripod, you can use both hands to talk. I almost feel Italian. It helps.
Yeah.
But I think as far as how to get people to open up, that's kind of the right mindset things. A lot of people can show you scripts. We were talking a little bit more about how do you think about the conversation in order to get it to change.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, main takeaways there for sure. Just be asking those open-ended questions more. Tonality is a big thing, and don't waste time in the beginning. You've got, like Zach said, like 5 seconds to catch someone. So that's it. And we'll continue to kind of talk about different questions you can ask that are open-ended there. Zach definitely threw out a lot there. Do you want to do kind of like one more letter? Are you good with that?
Yeah, one more letter.
Okay. This one is not so much a letter, but just some advice. And it's just a 2-pronged kind of question here. So, dear Leah and Zach, the owner is letting me know that the property now is for rent and under contract for another year. What options can I offer them about, I guess it looks like from an investment standpoint? The 2-pronger here is they said that I'm already earning enough by having the property rented out. So it sounds like this is just, a cold call or a database call, and they know that they have a property. It's being rented out under contract right now, and they are happy with the earnings.
Yeah. So the first thing is I've mentioned this on some of our other videos. We'll probably keep mentioning it, which is one of my favorite books. I love it for the story. I love it for the information, and I really love it for the time. It's a 4-hour book, and that's 7L, the 7 Levels of Communication by Michael Masterson. And I remember the author. I've read it 3 or 4 times. It's fantastic, and I highly recommend. Blah 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 blah. What I'm getting at is the Chosen One script. The Chosen One script is more or less, it's, hey, who do you go to when you have a real estate need? Be that to buy or sell, you need a contractor, a tax attorney. Do you have somebody that you trust to go make sure you're working with the right professional? And sometimes they'll say, yeah, I asked my Uncle Fred. And other times they say, I don't really know. A lot of the times they say Yelp. And the next question is, what would it take for me to be that go-to person? I want to be your go-to real estate person. Am I the chosen one? Right. And this is where, kind of bigger picture as an agent, this really applies, which is how can I really provide value? Yeah, I can get your home sold for top dollar. I can help you find the right home and make sure it is what you think it is. Um, what else can I do? Well, I have great connections through the entire industry. I can be a lifetime partner with you going through anything real estate related, right? And so that's why I want to be the chosen one. So for this particular person, does he need a property manager, right? Would he be interested in 5 months when this lease is coming up? Does he want to renew it? Does he want to sell? That'd be like the perfect timing to send him a home evaluation. And if you've been calling him once a month up until then, you're not a weird person.
Yes, I was gonna mention that, like being the chosen one, right? It comes across as potentially that there has been some sort of rapport built up, or at least some extra calls that have happened like before. So that is maybe a script that could be used once you've had this, and it's like, how do I add value? How do I switch up the script that this person's not like, oh gosh, they keep saying the same thing on the phone every single time they call me every 2 months or every 3 months. That's a great point. Like, let's have some rapport, let's add some value, and let's ask for the connection or like some sort of promissory, like, hey, I'm sticking out here. Let me show you what I can do.
Exactly. It's all about building relationships. You
Mhm.
have to be thinking, I mean, everything has to be thought of in terms of 2, 5, 10, 15, 30 years. Anytime you bring the time scale shorter than that, it's just not going to work. If you're talking
Mm.
about spending money, it's gambling. Whether you're buying a house or you're buying Dogecoin, if we're talking about 6 months, you're gambling. Now, 10, 15 years, yeah, we can be fairly confident in what's going to happen unless it's Dogecoin. But for everything else, we can be relatively confident. The same thing in personal development, like we talked about in the beginning of this. Um, Gary Keller said, I think it's Gary Keller, he keeps saying that people vastly overestimate what they can do in 1 year and vastly underestimate what they can do in 5. You really need to get in the habit of thinking of things in terms of 5, 10 years. So when this comes into talking to a prospect, right, I'm trying to build a relationship beyond get a listing, beyond anything else. I'm trying to cultivate a relationship with this person so that I become their go to person. So that when they have a family member talking about selling, they feel compelled to introduce their family member who they care about to me because they want their family member to be in the best position. This comes from building a relationship, not from marketing alliance.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, that's a great point. And even just bringing that up, like, this business to us or this business to my agent is relationship based for our community. So that is why we're reaching out, and this is why we want to connect with you. This is why we want to meet. This is why we want to just have that introduction so that you do have someone to trust. Just put it out there. Just put out,
And
we're here for relationship. Yeah. It's not just
oh,
a
completely,
transaction.
completely. And then as an ISA, the one thing I would recommend if you're listening to this, going, well, that's what you do if you're an agent. Um, everything is how you identify it, right? I identify as this, I identify as that. When I was an ISA, I was convinced I was better than an agent. They say, are you a real estate agent? No, I'm not an agent. I'm an ISA. That means my job is to connect you to the appropriate professional. I'm better than an agent.
Mm,
Isn't it great you got a chance to talk to me?
yeah.
Um, and sometimes I would say parts of that, not the more arrogant ones, but I would say parts of that. But I would think the whole thing because it adjusts the way you talk, right? And as an agent, I readjusted that. Yes, I'm an agent and I'm on a team. My job is to connect you to the appropriate professionals all the way through it. If we're buying something, I'm making sure we've got the right lender, the right appraiser, the right inspectors, that you completely understand what's going on. I love teaching, and that's why I'm in this. If we're selling, then it's because I'm able to get the right marketing team, the right ad people, the right call centers. Everything is set up correct with the right professional. And I'm able to articulate this to you in a way that you're calm, confident, and going to lead with the top dollar. And if you're just somebody that owns real estate, I'm going to keep reaching out to you because I care about you. And I'm going to make sure that whenever you need something related, be it problems with your taxes, thank you, Biden, for 60%. Oh, God. Um, if it's building your house, so I wouldn't recommend that at the moment with lumber prices. If it's getting a plumber, I can be that guy to make sure that your bathroom doesn't leak worse when they leave.
Exactly. And even just kind of looking at it on the other side here, this is something that they don't want to entertain because they've got it rented out. They think they're making enough money. That's just a one-sided portion of someone's potential whole portfolio. Is this person an investor? Do they want to see how they can grow their portfolio and add an additional rental property to it? Could you potentially match them up, like you said, with potentially a mortgage lender who can refinance that property, pull money out, and now they can do another deal, and you were the one that lined everything up for them? Don't worry so much about thinking they're rejecting you because this specific property is unavailable, and they're not interested in working with that. But open their eyes, to the opportunity to grow their portfolio if that's something that your agent is, focused on. Like, I come from a more of an investment focused team. Same with you, Zach, I believe. So it's great to have kind of those scripts to know how to speak to an investor specifically as well on if their goals could match up with your agent, which could help them down the road as well.
I love that you bring that up, and that's kind of the mindset side of that is I want to have the conversation that they're trying to have, right? If you're talking to someone, I love that you brought that up. Just like if you're talking to somebody that's an investor, I want to understand how they look at a property. How do they look at their money? Are they just real estate investors? Do they invest in the stock market? Do they invest here, there, wherever it is? I want to understand the conversation that they have. From there, I can find out if I can help them. Maybe I can't. Right? There are some people that have their money exactly set up as it's supposed to be, and I'll check in 6 months, see if it changed. But until I start having their conversation, I don't know. And if you find yourself getting hung up on all the time, or you just can't get the appointment and you don't understand why, you're having your conversation and not theirs. Would you agree?
Yes, I would agree there. Yeah, you're trying to push your own agenda with your own questions potentially, because again, it is a script-based, style that is trained, like being educated, like we are all educated on going through those scripts like that. So just maybe we could offer you some investor focused scripts, or see if your team lead has, some investor focused scripts, and switch it up. Know who you're speaking to. Oh, am I speaking with an investor? Is this something that you've done, for a long time? Did you just start getting into it? How do you like it so far? What are your goals with it? Just simple.
100%. 100%. Do you have anything else to add on that?
I just think outside the box sometimes, right? We get concerned about our questions being denied because we're trying to take it one direction. And I think that's just a reiteration of what you said, don't make it your own conversation. So other than that, yeah, just keep going with it and just offer something new to the table every time. And the ideas are endless of how you can kind of direct a conversation. If you've got them on the phone, the first thing is to try to keep them on the phone, and the next, direct the conversation how you're reading the situation, which just takes some time. Anything else?
No, you covered it. Well, I hope you guys found that helpful. If anybody has any questions about different calls they were on or anything like that, we'd always love to help. See if there's any value we can add.
Yeah, that sounds great. Awesome. So I guess this is the conclusion of our first podcast then.
Woo! We did it.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you very much, and stay tuned again. We'll definitely be doing this more consistently every week, and we look forward to your questions, and thank you for watching.
Thank you guys. Bye, Leah.
Bye-bye.